Hello everyone, Blue Star Saber here once again to review another One Piece chapter review, chapter 1045. Let's see, the next level. This is one that came out about 3 weeks ago and all that stuff, but I've been a bit delayed in reviewing One Piece chapters, so now I am trying to catch up, chapter by chapter. Let's see, I'm doing this one now, and I hope to do 1046 by tomorrow, but who knows. But anyway, onto the actual chapter review so I can catch up. Before again, I'll talk about the double-colored spread of what Oda's decided to put in this one, and which is called the Sea of Liberty, in which it appears to be Jinbei piloting some sort of, let's see, vessel, though we don't get the full body of the whole vessel. That seems to be some sort of mechanical boat, with Jinbei smiling, looking on with like Chop and Robin. Let's see, looking at Luffy and all that stuff, as well, just napping with a dog while Luffy's using his gum to grab some hand. Is that as though reaching out to invite us and all that stuff? Nami is just Ritzy doing some of her hair, with Sanji both being love struck. And I think so is Brock, with Sanji also holding on to Usopp, with like Robin's devil fruit trying to grab the hat, and Frankie also looking at the straw hat, also trying to reach it. It's just a fun cover of the Straw Hats doing their silly antics while going on some sort of travel on some vehicle and that stuff. So it's a nice double color. No sort of symbolisms you can take from it, but or theory. It's just a fun cover thing. But anyway, the actual chapter. But it begins off with Kaido first saying to Luffy, "You certainly he's dead," with Luffy saying the same, that he's still laughing due to the effects of his devil fruit ability and all that stuff. With like Kaido assuming that Luffy's now that he's transferring his rubber to other things, he assumes that he's awakening, that this is his awakening of his paramecia powers, though he can't quite figure out how that doesn't quite fully add up, since body transformations like that are the trademark of Zoan powers, showing that he's not realized that Luffy's in fact not a paramecia, but Zoan fruit, as he reaches up to Luffy, bites him and grabs him, trying to swallow him up, but Luffy, trying to go in all Popeye mode, tries to, prevent the jaw from coming down, but eventually gets swallowed up, and Luffy ends up punching Kaido from inside and all that stuff, eventually inflating into a balloon inside Kaido's mouth that makes his stomach look really fat and all that stuff, with Kaido going like, "You little," which is shocking Yamato and Momonosuke. I'm confused what's going on, with Yamato wondering if it's one of Kaido's many forms. With Kaido's wondering what's wrong with him as his body's not made of rubber. Luffy, seeing two lights inside, which are no doubt Kaido's eyes, uses the gum fruit to, funny enough, burst through the eyes, which shocks Kaido. Which he uses the gum technique, which escaped Rocket using his nose to pull him outside the mouth, showing the amount of cartoon ridiculousness of this power. With then Luffy sort of like, after escaping in a sort of balloon form, if you will, ends up releasing all the air, flying into like a lightning clouds, using a move called Gum, which shocks both Momonosuke and Yamato to reveal that Luffy's now used a technique called Gum Giant, as Luffy has finally gotten his entire full body has grown to the size of a giant as he's about to step on Kaido. Though Kaido, with Yamato and Momonosuke being shocked, asking what's going on with Luffy as they finally see his form, though they not quite identify him as Luffy, but they can identify the voice when if it's him. However, Kaido's able to grip like Luffy in the stomach, but Luffy ends up grabbing Kaido and uses like his giant form to use Kaido as in his dragon form as a jump rope. Let's see. Flying them towards down to the top of Omegashima, though Kaido, attempting to use a blast breath, blows Luffy to the side, and he looks all burnt and all that stuff. Yamato shocked at the word that Luffy has taken the whole blast breath. However, Luffy angry, saying that does it, shakes off the dust, and then starts running in midair, causing flames in the thing like a cartoon roadrunner, if you will. With Luffy about to try and use another Gum Gum attack, but Kaido intercepts with a Conquerors of the Three Worlds using the Ragnarok, I think, or Rannaku, I believe it's pronounced, hitting Luffy's head all the way down to the surface floor, well, the stadium floor where everyone's fighting and that stuff. With Luffy doing the cartoon shark-eyed things, with members of the Beast Pirates going like, "What?" And then we see Law, Kid, Chopper, Nami, and Tama going all Popeye with the whole cartoon, and I'm like, going like, yeah, shocked by Luffy's appearance and what's going on. But Luffy immediately pulls his head back up and all that stuff. With Kaido commenting that this seems to be like some comic strip, with Luffy's effect starting to wear off. With Kaido commenting how this is an entertaining show, but it seems Luffy has reached his limit and cannot defeat him, with Luffy telling him to shut up. We're going like, who says he has his limit? However, as he's doing so, his white hair starts turning black again, and as he returns to his normal form, he starts to look like a crippled old man, if you will. It's like he's all, as he comments about how he's all tuckered out with Kaido being shocked. Who are you? With like, what is going on, confused by Luffy's transformations. Luffy realizing that he was dying before this, and it's just taken up a lot of energy. Kaido comments that this battle of theirs will be titled great tales of this battle as like we tell to tell as once he kills and all that stuff. But Luffy doesn't really care. And Luffy, seeming to take some word advice from Brock, ends up saying how the only things that are dead and that's left are your bones and all that stuff. With Yamato realizing that it really is Luffy, this didn't look like him before with the hair and the clothes and all that stuff all turning white. With Momosuke talking about how his voice is nearly dying out and all that stuff. With Luffy saying he can't end this yet, and ends up pronouncing a few names such as Momo, Tama, Kimio, and Pedro, all the people he's made promises to. With Kaido making a joking saying, "Careful or you'll die." With Luffy saying, "You actually think I'm afraid of that?" Let's see. As he goes back into Gear 5th, and they prepare their battle, as Luffy likes the sound of it, I think, is devil fruit. With Yamato telling Luffy to watch out as Kaido hits him from behind, whacking him with a spike glove, and Luffy's completely cut off with his nose being like the pointed spike finger and hurting himself. That shocks Yamato with like the cartoon effect of Luffy is of pain, but he's still hurt. But anyway, as Kaido tries to go for another attack, Luffy ends up dodging due to, I think, the awakening causing a rubber effect on the top of the ceiling with him flying up and all that stuff. Well, he looks like a flat squash thing with a ham, when you do like with a hammer, if you will. And then counting down to 0, from 3 to 0 and all that stuff. He spins around with like a bunch of, causing a sort of like, hold on a second. Causing a sort of spinning effect with his like a fist, like a helicopter-like thing. With Kaido wondering what does it all mean with him turning white and all that stuff, wondering if he's using the armament and Supreme King. Let's see, he's never seen such a freewheeling combat before. With him, let's see, confused by his hockey abilities. Comments how there's no one in the world who can defeat him. However, with the spinning punches, one of them finally hits Kaido in the head, and it looks like it's going straight through it, shocking both Yamato and Momonosuke. As Kaido falls to the floor, while Luffy ends we end the chapter with Luffy saying, "Isn't this fun, Kaido?" First of all, once again, we've got another full-on, let's see, solo focus on the fight, Luffy versus Kaido, with a few things in the background. With a few spectators, if you will. I do like... I do like how throughout the chapter Kaido starts to question like Luffy's abilities, wondering like, is this some sort of awakening of paramecia? Though question how it be since his form changes that of a Zonin, and wondering how he's able to do it with his hockey modes of how he's able to use the abilities of the hockeys of Conquerors and Supreme King, the Augment and Supreme King so freely and all that stuff. And even being shocked whenever time Luffy does some ridiculous thing either to attack him with or the side effects, if you will, and all that stuff. I particularly like, but yeah, I really like the abilities that Luffy displays with the effects of this devil fruit with the cartoonish abilities, like Looney Tunes, like a comic strip this Kaido comments on. It's like the whole classic punching inside the stomach thing. Oh. Let's see. I haven't seen. The only thing I can think of that seems similar to this, and anime. Well, Load perhaps portrayed more seriously is when Naruto used all his shadow clones inside us to burst open from inside a snake, and if you will. But I do like how he's able to make Kaido's stomach go big, or even the devil ability allows him to punch through Kaido's body, as just do, like he did with the eyes and later the face. Though it doesn't completely burst open and destroy the things, it just allows cartoon logic to pull out and all that stuff, and cause like damage, like it's punching through, but the body pieces are still there. But Kaido still feels the pain of it, and even the shock, if you will. And of course, I think the main highlight for this, and for many One Piece fans, will be none other than Luffy going into his giant form, which many people have been hoping for a very long time. That with ever since the introduction of Gear 3, giving Luffy the hands and feet of a giant, that Luffy would someday, either with Gear 3 or some other future gear, if you will, turn his entire body into a full-on giant. And as we can see, he fully does, matching Kaido in size, maybe even bigger, though Grant might be the double-page panel of which it's done. But yeah, this is finally Luffy finally has an ability. Finally, he's gotten his devil fruit ability to turn himself into a giant, which will be very interesting when Luffy ends up going to Elbaf, as he can now turn into a giant and fight them if he has to. Though granted, I don't see why him and the giants would be fighting, but who knows? Either way, Luffy has the body of a giant, so I have to admit, when Death Battle eventually does probably the Luffy versus Naruto fight, Luffy has a giant avatar that can probably fight against Naruto when he goes in Kurama mode, so it'll be interesting to see how that fight plays out. Granted, Luffy could also probably end up fighting Sasuke as well, if you will. And at this point, I think Luffy has a pretty good chance of maybe even winning in those fights in Death Battle, but we'll just have to wait and see if they ever do it. But I do like how in Giant mode, Luffy's able to use... Well, I said earlier that Luffy seems to be bigger than Kaido, though that might be wrong, as... He's able to use Kaido, using his devil fruit abilities to cause Kaido to like a jump rope, which I thought was like, oh, that is just clever and all that stuff. Since Luffy has the strength and the ridiculousness to do it. I do like how, despite Luffy's own strength with this devil fruit and all these abilities, Kaido's still able to do quite a few bits of damage to him, biting him, using his blast breaths and all that stuff, and even whacking him in the club. And even though you had that funny after effect of like Luffy being completely going to shape of like his like weapon and all that with the nose and the spike thing, it clearly hurts him and all that stuff, even though he can recover from it. The one thing I'd probably say that this chapter that is kind of iffy on is perhaps some of the more shocked face reactions when Luffy's doing it. It works and all that stuff, and even Kaido to a bit, since Kaido can be a little goofy with his dragon mode and like, what, when the eye's popping out. But when it came to like the, cartoon eye things, we end up seeing characters like Tama, Nami, Chopper, Kid, and Law do it, and I'm not sure if it necessarily works here. I mean, okay, Chopper, maybe Nami, and maybe Tama, possibly Kid, but Law, it feels out of place, especially with the face expressions. In fact, I'll admit, some of the face expressions could have been much different. In many ways, I feel like this perhaps would have worked better with the classic, yeah, which you do see some from, fun enough, some of the Beast Pirates that see Luffy's face going like, ah, and all that stuff, and even the shock expressions Momosuke and Yamato do and all that stuff. So it's like, this bit feels like Oda was probably trying too hard to draw those facial expressions, but it just didn't really match with the face thing. But it's a minor nitpick, really. That's still funny to see them all go like, yeah, as they're probably wondering just what kind of crazy power Luffy has and all that stuff. But yeah, but interesting that we in this chapter we also end up learning perhaps one of the side effects of the Gear 5, as once Luffy is drained of its power, he depletes into an old man thing, though he was able to completely look like a withered old creeping man, if you will, old skin dry and all that stuff. And all soggy his body and all that stuff, as he's all worn out. But granted, he ends up with the changing back to Gear 5 quite quickly, and you can see in this way gives us a bit more glimpse of the transformation of it, of like his clothes turning white and his hair thing, if you will, a sort of mix of both the Super Saiyan and even Naruto's chakra modes, though I think Oda does a much better effect with the chakra, like the Gear 5 than Kishimoto did with the chakra modes, but then again, I don't think Kishimoto quite made up his mind of what kind of chakra mode he wanted Naruto to have with the war, to be fair. Interesting that during this fight, I do like how Luffy ends up seemingly using the words of Brock a bit, taking his advice. And one thing is that he doesn't care if he's remembered by battle, if you will, but or if like tales, as Kaido says, as we know, Kaido likes to spread tales of glorious battles he's had or glorious ends of opponents he expects and all that stuff. But Luffy, like Odin, doesn't care, and like Brock says, all that's left is just your bones and all that stuff. At least from the translation you got from, let's see, Viz and all that stuff. Showing a bit how these two view like battle in a sense. But yeah. No, I do like how Yamato and Momosuke are concerned for Luffy and Etsy during this fight, but still get incredibly shocked with his ridiculous powers and all that stuff. Even when Luffy's getting flattened, let's see, either by if you're like a top from a hammer landing down on him or being hit with the side of a weapon. Luffy's still able to fight and even do a sort of spinning attack, which of course caused the punch through in his head and all that stuff. So yeah. Granted, let's see, we know there's 2 chapters after this one. So we know that the fight is still ongoing, but of course it's cut to some other things. But I do like how at the end of this chapter, Luffy, in a sense of mocking Kaido or just enjoying the fight itself, ends up asking him if it's fun, showing how Luffy's kind of enjoying himself, but wondering if Kaido's had enough and all that stuff. Of course, the two are going to continue their fight, though I assume that it's just got like a few more chapters left. How much, I'm not sure. But overall, I'll give this chapter, I think, an 8.5 to 9 out of 10. It's a great fight chapter, and it probably would have been a 10 out of 10 for me if it wasn't for like those very questionable drawn panels of like the shocked faces from like Nami, Tama, Chopper, Kid, and Law. But otherwise, I enjoyed seeing the crazy Looney Tune antic display fights in this, and the fact that Luffy has finally gotten a giant form. and all that stuff. Overall, it was a good fight chapter. I'm looking forward to, let's see, the follow-up chapter. Let's see, I've already read the follow-up chapter, but I need to reread it again just so I can review it for next time, which hopefully I will do tomorrow. But let's see, and not end up doing it too late. But overall, well, it's a bank holiday here in the UK, so overall, I am Blue Star Saber signing off. Thank you for joining me. If you watch this view later on, and goodbye.